Cash. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video will be one of y'all favorites. It will be a group home story time. So I'm gonna be honest, I be trying to avoid the group home story times. I just be feeling like, oh, I didn't want to wake up any old trauma or bring up any bad vibes. But I feel like every time I try to avoid something, God sits right in my lap. So I'm gonna tell y'all the story time so I can kind of relieve myself of some anger. Because to be honest, I forgot to tell y'all. I told y'all that I was going to tell y'all the reason why I wasn't giving y'all story times. To be honest, I was already going through a seasonal depression, and then two of my neighbors tried to jump me. So one of the neighbors that tried to jump me in this story time is one of the neighbors that tried to jump me recently is one of the neighbors that tried to jump me in a group home, and it ended up badly for her. So y'all will be getting that story time since everybody want to keep on picking at me when I'm trying to be love and light. So this one had to take place in my last group home. I don't know. Okay, so a little bit of background. My last group home was originally owned by one company. I'm not sure what happened with that company, but they ended up selling the whole group home network. They sold it to a different company. So this company was a newer company. They don't really count that much. Their rules were a little bit different, but a group home is a group home. Majority of them are the same. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. There's a lot of names to keep up with in this story time, so I'm gonna try to list them. If y'all get confused halfway throughout, I'm so sorry, but that's the struggle with group home story times. It'd be so many girls and so many staffs in one area that it'd just be a lot going on. So I'm not even gonna start it at I do have to kind of start it at the old group home so I can give y'all a little bit of background context. So at my old group home, there was an issue with girls constantly stealing my stuff, and I had been bringing the issue up to staff. I had been telling my caseworkers. I had told my guardian ad litem. I was telling everybody, and nobody was doing anything about it. So at this point, they had stole some $200 Jordans. I think they were 14s. I'm not sure. I'm going to try to include a picture of them. But it's they had already been stealing stuff from me. But when they stole them shoes, I was really mad about it because I'm a big sneakerhead, and I had found those shoes on a deal actually, because I wear kid sizes, and shoes like that, once they come out and the resellers get a hold of them, they shoot up sky high. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to get those shoes again. And then also the staff had told me that they were going to pay for me to get another pair, and they never did. And I knew they weren't going to, but that was my point. Stop letting these girls take my stuff if y'all are not going to be able to replace it, because literally all they had to do was lock my door or run the cameras, and they wouldn't do that. And they would know who was stealing my stuff, and they wouldn't tell me anything, and they wouldn't say anything to the girl about it. So it had got to the point that I was kind of agitated, so I just started beating them up. I'm not gonna lie to you, because I'm gonna be honest, I take accountability. It probably wasn't the best, but I had begged everybody. I had even went to court, and I had told them my stuff keeps getting stolen and nobody's replacing it. Nobody heard me, so I just started beating the girls up. And this is not the best way to go, but truth be told, once you start fucking shit up, people tend to listen to you. So once I started beating the girls up, the higher ups actually listened to me, and they were like, you know what, in the next group home, you're gonna get your own room. Because we were moving to a bigger house, because we was moving out to Loxahatchee. If you're from Florida, you already know Loxahatchee has bigger houses. So at this point, it was enough room for other girls to have roommates, and that I could have my own room. Because I think this house was the last house was maybe a 3-bedroom. The next house was going to be a 4-bedroom. So now I was actually able to get my own room. There was, oh yeah, she needs a name. So we're going to call this girl Rampage. So Rampage had actually been in the other group home with me, and me and her had fell out because she was just, I'm going to be honest with y'all. She was very predatory. Me and her had already not been getting along for other reasons, but then they made me her roommate, and she kind of tried to proposition me to have a 3-way with her and her boyfriend. That's a whole different story time. But she was one of those girls, she would take advantage of you if you allow her. If you know, you know. And I wasn't allowing it, because she had did it to the younger girls, but me and you are too close in the same age and the same weight for you to ever think you finna bogart me out my goodies, especially not with your boyfriend. Girl, it will be for real. So we already didn't like each other at that time, and me and her had been beefing. So a little bit of background story on Rampage. Rampage had boosted up one of my roommates' head to steal my brother's ring after he had passed away. So that's a whole different story time. But when she had stole that ring from me, and I figured out it was her, that was just the end of me being civilized with her. That was the end of me being copacetic. I didn't care about keeping the peace in the house. It was just gonna be whatever it was gonna be. I did keep our beef on hold while we were moving the house, because it was literally we had boxes all throughout the house, because not only did we have to pack up all the girls living in the house, and I think it was about 8 of us at that time, But not only did we have to pack us up, but we had to pack up like records and different stuff that the staff had. So the whole house was full of boxes. We didn't have no time, no space, no opportunity to fight. We barely were seeing each other because we had to move our whole house in I think maybe like a week or two. So when we had moved to the new house, it was like, now ain't nothing but space and opportunity in this house. But also, I was kind of trying to avoid conflict with her because they had already like had a sit down meeting with me, and they had told me like, look, if you fight Rampage, you're getting kicked out. I'm gonna keep it a being with y'all. I don't care who don't like it. I'm sorry if anybody watched my YouTube. They had a lot of favoritism towards Rampage because she had been in the group home longer than other girls, but Rampage used to see that, and she used to take advantage of it because she wasn't just stealing my stuff. She was stealing all of the girls' stuff in the house. And the reason why she was able to do this because she was the only girl in the house. She was on probation, so she was going to an alternative school. So the rest of the girls, we're getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning to go to high school, and she doesn't have to get up to like 12 o'clock because certain alternative schools, you can like pick which time you go. So when we would all be in school and our doors are supposed to be locked, they wouldn't lock our doors, and what Rampage would do was she would just go around the house and just steal stuff out of everybody's room. I don't know if she was a kleptomaniac or what, because she was just stealing. We all knew it was her because it was like nobody else is in the house alone but you. And then it was like anytime, say for instance, like if another girl had stole my stuff, they wouldn't have a problem telling me like, hey, she stole your stuff, go get it back. But if Rampage had stole my stuff, they were like, oh, we're not running the cameras. You can't just blame Rampage. You don't know that she did it. But it's like, it's kind of obvious because if it was anybody else, they would have told you. Anytime it came to Rampage, everybody just wanted to keep things on the hush-hush. So Rampage ended up giving me my brother's ring back, but I kind of hadn't forgiven her for that because it was just like, I had to do a lot of things that I don't like to do. Like I had to act very ignorant to get my brother's stuff back. And it was just like, she did that out of just malice because that was my only brother. And that was like the only time that I had really had like a mental breakdown in front of the girls in the group home. They knew how hard I took to pass to my brother. So you took his ring because you wanted to hurt me. So now I want to hurt you. So at this point, once we get to the new group home, I'm really just trying to like keep things cool and copacetic because they were like, they had already given me the rules, and they were like, I felt like they were trying to work with me. They was like, look, we gave you your own room. Like, nobody's going to steal your stuff. They made sure my room door had a lock on it, and they had bought me like this big old lock box with a combination. So I really felt like they were hearing where I was coming from, and we were really trying to make strides towards something better. But one thing I can tell from being in a group home, every time you trust somebody, they'll show you why you shouldn't. So our group, I feel like with most group homes, if you've been in a group home, you already know, they like kind of work in systems. So we will all be owned by the same company, but we will have different group homes in different parts of the city. So it's like we'll have boys' homes on this side of town. My home was like for the older girls. So my home was like 15 through 17. We were in one city, and then it was like down the street, it was like the group home for the younger girls. And these girls were like 12 to 15 because they try to keep older girls and younger girls and older boys and older girls separated just to kind of keep issues down, because once you start integrating us together, it just be a whole lot of stuff that just don't need to be happening. If you know, you know. So we had been hearing that the younger girls group home, they were more rowdy than us because they were young, they were going through puberty, and also with the older girls, when they wanted us to behave, they would take away privileges like home passes and weekend passes. So if we got in trouble at the house, they wouldn't let us go out on the weekends. A lot of the girls had boyfriends. I had a job, so it's like if I got in trouble, they'll kind of be like, oh, we're not going to take you to work, and I didn't want to pay for those Ubers. So they had ways of keeping us in line, but with the younger girls, they're young and turned. They don't care if they go anywhere. So they'll sit in the house and rumble all day, and that just is what it is. But basically, there was an incident at that home where they had been bullying, because when you let things happen and you don't check it, it usually bubbles over. There had been a lot of instances of bullying at the younger girls group home, and we all seen it because even when we would go over there, I would see how they would talk to this one girl and treat her and do things to her. So this day in particular, they had, I don't know what happened, but they had bleached her clothes, and the girl was just finally at her breaking point. So she ended up chasing one of the girls down the street with the pot. Because, we don't really have no sharp objects. Like they usually, especially at the group homes, like going through one of those time periods where it's like everybody's beefing, they usually take all the sharp objects out the house. So the girl just got a pot and she was ready to go to work. But basically, she was chasing the other girls up and down the street, and the neighbors had called, and it was like, like, oh, this is ridiculous, because we were on a nicer side of town at this point. So, you know, we can't do this. Because back when we was in Lake Worth, nobody cared, because Lake Worth is Lake Worth. But we were like in Loxahatchee. These are big houses that is really quiet out there. There's nothing but field. So people knew, like, hey, somebody's in the neighborhood causing issues. So I guess they didn't want to get evicted from the house that they were from. So they decided to take 2 of the baddest girls from the kid's house and put them with the older girls. So don't ask me why, but not every group home, but sometimes group home always have the stupid logic that if you take more rowdier girls and you put them in the house with more calm girls, that they will calm down more. But what I've seen happen multiple times throughout my time in the system, whether you take them from one house and put them in another, or if you take them from one room and you put them in another one, when you bring rowdy ass girls into a house full of calm girls, either the rowdy girl starts bullying all of us, or we all have to get rowdy. And it was one of those houses where it's like people thought we were quiet because we were like scary or something. It was really because we were just scared to get in trouble, not because none of us couldn't fight. It's just that we were scared to get in trouble again, because at the previous group home, before they had like made real rules, we was in there scrapping. But at this point, they had already let it be known. You get in here, you get to fight, and you're going to jail, and you could possibly get kicked out. And around this time, y'all know I aged out of the system in 2019. This was probably like 2018, beginning of 2019. So this was the point where there wasn't a lot of group homes like in the Palm Beach area. If you got in trouble, you were really going to Belgrade or Miami. And I had been in Miami before. I was not trying to go back. Miami group homes are nothing to play with. I'm sending you love and light if you have to live in one. That shit is like prison. But so I can't even express to y'all the hurt and the betrayal that I felt, because I had been hearing rumors that we were gonna get one of the girls from the old house, but we had an open bed. So I was like, okay, she's gonna be one of the other girls' roommates. But when I came home from school that day and I seen a second bed in my room, I was livid. Because I was like, literally, the only reason why I have been behaving and trying to respect like what y'all got going on and trying to cooperate is because y'all promised me my own room, because y'all can't keep the girls from stealing from me. So y'all gonna put one of the girls in my room. And then I don't know if we have to give her a name for the story time, but the girl they had put in my room was the girl who got kicked out of the last group home for bleaching the girl's stuff. And she was a known bully. But I think that's why they put her with me, because I'm bigger than her, but so she can't bully me. But my thing was, not trying to flex or anything like that, but I had a job and I've always been like babysitting even before I had a job. I had the most stuff and I had the most expensive stuff out of the other girls in my group home. So you put somebody who likes to bleach people's clothes in a room with the girl who has the most stuff. I just wasn't understanding the logic of that. And also, like, you know, no shade to her if you watch this. I know you'd be mad when I say it. She was real young and turned. Like, she used to just like, you know, no shade to nobody. Everybody do their thug thizzle, but she was one of those girls who used to be fighting, twerking, and doing all that on like Instagram Live. And I'm just like, I'm auntie. Y'all know I was raised by older people. I like to be in the bed by like 8 o'clock with my moo on. Like, girl, I'm not used to this. So it's like, as soon as I came home and I seen the bed, I just came out and I was like, y'all are some liars. Oh, honey, like, let's just try, you know, we gotta cooperate and things like that. And I understand where they was coming from, but I probably could have respected it a little bit more if somebody would have gave me like the heads up that I was gonna have a roommate. The fact that y'all lied to me, and nobody even told me when I came in the door. I just walked in and seen the girl. So I was like, yeah, y'all dead ass wrong. There's no way that y'all can make up for this. Y'all are dead ass wrong. So when I seen her, she seen me and she had kind of like, mind you, at this point, I'm not gonna say that I'm a clean freak, but y'all know I was raised old school. There's certain stuff that I don't do. We got white carpet in this room and stuff like that. She's already in the room with some red Hawaiian punch, and I'm just like, So I basically setting the ground rules for her. I'm like, look, all that eating and stuff in the room, we're not gonna do that. All that going live in the room, if you want to go live, you gotta go like in the living room and don't touch nothing of mine. Because I got a niece around your age. Like, because that was another thing too. I was like 17 around this time. No, I wasn't 17 yet. I think I was 16 turning 17 because my birthday is in August. But you know, once you hit 17 in the group home, you're kind of considered an adult. You can't fight the younger girls because they'll press charges and they'll try to charge you as an adult. So I was trying to have the talk with her, and she's kind of looking at me like, girl, I'm not hearing shit you saying. I was like, okay, well, you know, you bleach my stuff. I got a niece around your age. I'm not even finna rap with you. You do it if you want to. So she kind of like, you know, she had calmed down. We really didn't have no problems in the beginning. She don't even need a name for the story time because, you know, me and her, we had our issues, but I kind of looked at her as like more of a little sister, and I think she looked at me as like a big sister. So we was able to just kind of coexist for a period of time until she got out of line. I had to check her too. The other girl that they had to move in, we're going to give her a name. We're going to call her Jumpy. Because no, we're gonna call her Crash because she's a damn crash dummy. Anything you tell her to do, she's gonna do it to this day. And I hope you see it because I know you stalk my social media. You're a crash dummy. So Crash was a stud. And there's nothing wrong with that, but Crash had to be like 15, 16 around this time. And they had put Crash in the room with Rampage. And like I told y'all, Rampage had a history of trying to take advantage of younger women, especially. So when they put them in the room together, I was kind of side-eyeing the staff because at the last group home, Rampage always had to have her own room because she had those type of reports on her. But I guess this group home, they didn't care or they didn't have the space or they were just trying to break the rules for now until somebody left. But, you know, I was like, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. So in the beginning, Rampage was actually very sweet. I'm not gonna lie to you, like because my roommate didn't like Rampage from whatever they had going on at the previous, not Rampage, Crash, sorry. My roommate didn't like Crash from whatever they had going on at the previous house, but Crash just really seemed like she didn't want no problems with anybody. Like when my roommate would come at her crazy, Crash would just kind of be quiet and she just really wouldn't say anything or defend herself. So I was like, you know, roommate, don't be bullying her. Like she don't want no issues. We just gonna call roommate because she pops up, but like not that much. So once we get settled into the house and, you know, I kind of already figured out that I got a roommate. So now I don't really care about the rules because y'all lied to me. So I don't have to keep my end of the bargain to y'all.
I look so rough. Please excuse my appearance. But basically, me and Rampage got to arguing because sometimes I would walk past Rampage and she would breathe too hard and that would just annoy me. I'm so sorry to say it, but back to the story.
So while me and Rampage are arguing, Crash comes out the room and she's like kind of like, you know, standing off to the side still. So I'm kind of like Crash, like, you know, at this time, Crash is like 15. Me and Rampage are both like 17. Rampage was like about to turn 18. So I had kind of told Rampage like not to be rude because we were all kids. But like Rampage, like, you know, stay out of this. Ain't got nothing to do with you. It happened before you moved in the house and you're not even like in my age range. Like, you know, go beef with my roommate. That's who actually wants a problem with you. Oh, I'm gonna beef with whoever I want. So I had called my roommate. I was like, since you want to beef so bad, like, you know, roommate, like go beef with somebody your age. Because like I told them, like, you and I both know that if me and you get into it, I'm going to jail and probably for a child abuse charge, which nobody wants. So go beef with somebody within your age range who actually wants a problem with you. She wasn't trying to hear it, but my roommate came out the room. She had ended up going back in hers like I thought she would. So me and Rampage are still arguing and Rampage is like, oh, I don't want to fight you, whatever. So I think I had mushed Rampage and she fucked around and ran in the room. I'm still disappointed in myself to this day for how I used to let Rampage run from me because Rampage was like, I thought I could have caught Rampage, but I was just so damn big and breathing heavy. I wasn't gonna be able to catch Rampage back then. Now I probably could. So Rampage goes in the room and Rampage is pretty much so like popping it from the room. She's just talking mess or whatever. Crash is in there laughing. She's like trying to egg it on. But at the same time, I'm still trying to ignore Crash because I'm like, you have nothing to do with this. Nobody's about to keep on arguing with you. So things had calmed down after that because we ended up having a house meeting and they were telling us like, you know, y'all need to let it go because we won't start all that fighting at this house. Y'all get kicked out before we let y'all tear up this house. Because it really was a beautiful house. I'm not going to hold you. So fast forward, what was the next incident that happened? So in our group home, as y'all know, kind of like the same way that teachers have a ratio to their kids or like daycare workers, they have a ratio to how many kids they deal with a day. It's the same thing with a group home. So it's usually, I think it's like one staff to 4 girls or 5 girls to 1 staff. I'm not sure. So we basically like, depends on how many staff are on shifts. If one of us need to get picked up or dropped off from somewhere, we all have to ride. So at this time, I think I was the only girl in the group home that had a job. And then 3 of the other girls, they were friends and they were all ready to go out together. As much as we didn't like each other, we used to all just get in the car and suck it up when somebody else had to get picked up because it's cool for you to say, oh, we don't want to ride to pick up so-and-so. But at the same time, if you do that, you better have Uber money or a ride to and from wherever you're going. Because if you say that you don't want to ride with me for me to get picked up for work and I have to Uber, I don't care where you have to go. I'm not going to ride. So I was ready for work. The girls were ready to go out and we was all just going to make it like a one-stop shop. So when the staff had went to like tell Rampage and Crash to get up, like, let's go, Rampage didn't like us. So what Rampage would always do is like, she either would be like, oh, I don't want to ride, or she would come, but she would make us wait like 20 and 30 minutes to like get wherever we got to go. So at that point, it was just like this day, her and Crash were really dragging it. And I was like, Crash, why are you even doing this? Because nobody has a problem with you. Rampage had us waiting for like 30 to 40 minutes. and Crash, they both, like, they made us wait almost an hour. So at that point, I had just called my job and told them that I wasn't coming, because I used to work like 5 to 11, 4 to 11 shifts, and it was like, there's not even a point in me going, because by the time I get there, y'all gonna be right back picking me up. And the other girls, they still wanted to get dropped off where they were going, but they had got an Uber at that time, so it was like, you know, now it's pointless. But even they were mad because they had curfew, and their curfew was like 10 o'clock. So by this time, it's probably like 5:30 or 6. So it's like they only had 4 hours to go out and really do what they wanted to do. And if you stayed out any longer than curfew, you would kind of be like marked as runaway. So at that point, that was kind of like a little bit of a red flag, but everybody was still trying to spare Crash. So what was it? So I'm not sure, but we did have a girl in our group home. She came from a Hispanic family, so her grandma would, like, anytime she would come visit, she would always bring us food. She would always talk to us, you know, teach us a little bit of Spanish. Her grandma was a really cool lady. I loved her to pieces. She made the best flan ever. But I gotta explain group home code, y'all. So in group home, we don't like each other all the time, but there's certain decorum. Like, I wasn't even a fan of the girl who grandma was coming over, but that was her family, and I wouldn't want nobody to disrespect my family if they were coming to visit me, and her grandma was always super sweet to us. So, you know, everybody was just being really respectful. So when there's visitors in the house, you act like you got some sense, because people already have a stigma around group home kids that we don't have any home training. And it's like, yeah, we gonna fight and stuff when people ain't here, but you know, when we have visitors, like, act like you got some fucking common decency. So basically, I'm not sure where we were coming from, but we pulled up at the same time as the girl's grandma. So the girl's grandma, she's a little Hispanic lady. She used to bring like big pots of food. So we would all go to her car and we would like help her bring the food in. So me and a few of the other girls, we were like greeting her. We were like, hey, how you doing? So we all bringing the food in and stuff like that. So it's like, it's flan, it's tres leches, it's all types of shit. It's food everywhere. Like, we finna eat good tonight. So we're walking in the house, and all of a sudden, Rampage starts like barking at the Hispanic girl, and the Hispanic girl was like kind of confused because, mind you, I think they had like some type of problem, because I think maybe they weren't speaking to Rampage after she had did the whole, not Rampage, no, it wasn't Rampage that started barking, it was Crash. So I guess they stopped talking to Crash after she made them, like, you know, be late for their outing, but Crash hadn't said anything about it. We had been in the house for like 2 days together, and Crash hadn't said anything. But when Crash seen the girl's grandmother, I guess she thought it was her time, like, to show out or shine or whatever, but she really was doing the most. So she was like, oh, I gotta give her a name, because I don't want to keep on calling her Hispanic girl, that's rude, but we're gonna call her Furry. So she was like, oh, Furry, I'm gonna beat you to blank up, like, beep, 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 beep. She's just cursing. Mind you, Furry's grandmother doesn't speak like English too well, but she does understand certain things. And it's like, I feel like curse words are universal. She knows what you're saying. So her grandma's like, you know, like, what's going on? Like, you know, she's looking really confused, and she's looking scared, because mind you, the grandmother was already working on getting custody of Furry. So I know it used to break her heart to have to leave Furry there, but it's like, I'm leaving my granddaughter here, and now you got girls threatening her and stuff like that. Mind you, at this time, Crash was a stud. So Crash was like bald head. She was really heavy set. She was the same height as maybe like me at the time, but she was like more heavier set, because she was kind of built like stocky. Y'all know, like, football player stocky. She was kind of like buff with it. Y'all know what I'm getting at. So basically, we're all telling her, we're like, bro, you're doing the most. Like, go in the house, like, whatever you gotta say to Furry, say it when her grandmother isn't here. But at this point, Furry's getting amped up too, because Furry's like, girl, why are you doing this in front of my grandma? And like, also, you're disrespecting my grandma, because she's like, oh, I don't give a F who grandma here, F her grandma. So at that point, when she said F her grandma, the whole house turned on her, because it's just like, have a little bit of decorum. She was dead wrong. I'm sorry, to this day, there was no acceptable excuse or reasoning behind that. Honestly, I think that Rampage had told her to do it, and she let the battery get put in her back, and I don't know why she did that. So, like, Furry's grandmother was starting to cry, and she was starting to be confused. So the staff had kind of told Furry's grandma, like, hey, like, you know, I'm so sorry that you came all this way, but you can't come in today, because obviously she's out of control, and we just have to contain the situation and things like that. So it's just, the whole situation was just going from bad to worse, because Furry's grandma lived like all the way in Miami. So it took her like an hour to come visit her granddaughter. And the fact that she didn't even get to spend more than like 20 minutes with her, it was just dead wrong. So Furry had, you know, she sat outside with her grandma. She talked to her for a minute. We sat outside with her. We talked to her grandma, and then her grandma ended up leaving. So when we had all went back in the house, Furry and Crash had went in the, not Furry, sorry. Crash and Rampage had went in the room and locked themselves in the room. And what they would do is they would start stuff and then they would go in the room and they would put the dresser in front of the door. And they would not come out for hours. And it was just like, why do y'all start stuff and then y'all go in this room and y'all put a dresser in front of the door? Like, if you gonna start stuff, you gotta come out and stand on it. So we're all standing outside the room door. I'm not even in there. I'm just standing outside because I'm like, yeah, Furry, you better get on her for that. Furry, you better get her. So we all standing outside the room and Furry's like, bro, I'm not finna argue with you through the door, because mind you, they won't come out the room, but they're still talking mess through the door. So Furry's like, bro, come out the door. And Crash was like, oh, I'm not gonna come out there. Y'all are gonna jump me. Y'all are gonna jump me. And I had made it clear, I'm like, girl, ain't nobody finna jump you. Like, I ain't got nothing to do with this. I just want to watch. So Rampage starts popping it from behind the dresser. And like I told Rampage, I'm not arguing with you through no door. If you want to argue, like, come outside the room. So she's just like, you still mad over your brother? Woody, woody, woo. She's just talking. So at this point, I'm going to be honest, she knew what to say to trigger me. So at this point, we're all like, you know what? We finna get in this room because you doing too much popping it from, like, inside the room. It'd be one thing if y'all locked yourselves in there and then would have been quiet, because there would have been nothing nobody could do about it. But y'all keep talking like y'all want to fight from behind the dresser. So me and, like, two other girls, I think, no, it was probably either me and Furry, or it was, like, me, Furry, and my roommate. We just start pushing, like, on the door trying to see if we can get it open. The staff is in the, like, she's in the office, because I'm not sure what staff was on shift that day, but shouts out to her, because I think that they had been disrespecting her also. And she was like, you know, whatever happens, happens. I hate to say it, but certain staff, once you get to a certain point of disrespect, they kind of mind their business. And also, they also had different things to do. I'm not even sure if she heard us, but in her defense, she probably didn't hear us. So we're trying to push open the door. Why did Crash open the door and just open a whole water bottle and just spray all of us? She drowned all of us. All of us was over there, like, gasping for air. I was like, oh, girl, you really did that. So she opened the door, splashed the water, and she put the dresser back in front of the door. So I'm like, oh, okay. So at this point, we was like, you know, we're going to be on this all night.